give a big round of applause and cheer for your headline actress. You probably know her name.
Hey guys, so some of you may recognize me because I have friends in the audience. Also because 2 years ago I was on a TV show on Channel 4 called Naked Attraction. Season 1, episode 5. If you haven't seen Naked Attraction, then you're obviously not my parents. I came second, like I normally do. Yeah, it's an unconventional dating show. So basically all of the contestants are naked and they're revealed section by section. The classy way, not from the head down, but from the penis up. It's by far the best way to be revealed on TV for the first time to all your friends and family. So I'm single. Yeah, I'm not great at women. Like, my ex-girlfriend asked me if we would be together forever. I said every relationship inevitably ends in tragedy. Either one of us is gonna die before the other one, or most likely break up. Nothing lasts forever. And I was right. We're not together anymore. I don't know, the only time I've managed to convince a girl to move in with me is on Minecraft. And Minecraft's alright for getting puss. But by far the best dating website is obviously LinkedIn. You guys don't need to suppress your laughter, it's fine. Because LinkedIn tells you the important things about people, like if they're a team player, if they're punctual, you can check their references. Basically, the worst thing that I hate about dating is the really unfair double standard that men and women have about multiple sexual partners. So usually when I tell people that I've had sex with a lot of different girls, and people will say things to me like, "You're a fucking liar, no you haven't." Poking people on Facebook doesn't count. And I think that I'm fuckable. Like last Halloween, I dressed up as the Incredible Hulk. Like I spent 2 hours in the mirror with green body paint just to get the look right. And a lot of girls came up to me and said that I look just like Shrek. But usually when a guy has sex with a lot of different people, he's called a player, stud, pussy magnet, unless it's through Grindr. Yeah, it's a lot easier to have sex through Grindr. I've been told. I've been told by people. I spent 5 minutes on Grindr and the next 20 minutes deleting dick pics. I had way too many photos of my penis. So I'm a feminist. No applause, okay. Not mad, just disappointed. So yeah, I like to think that I'm a good feminist. I attend every Free the Nipple campaign that I can. I try and fight inequality and discrimination for everyone, regardless of gender. And I think women aren't given enough praise for dealing with periods. Like thank you. I know I wouldn't handle it well. I don't handle nosebleeds well. Like, if guys got periods, we'd be talking about it a lot more. Like, we'd get the week off work, tampons would be free and available everywhere, and anytime you went into a men's bathroom, it would just look like there was a massacre. Just blood everywhere. Yeah, I know for a fact that I wouldn't have sex if my penis was bleeding for 4 days. Because I speak from experience. Just jokes, guys, just jokes. It was 6 days. But men obviously have their own issues, mainly heart disease. Suicides are mainly men. 50 to 80% of homeless are men. So while it's true that some men are CEOs and in positions of power, the patriarchy also affects a lot of men. And most women. Yeah. I think that sexism is largely taught to us, not in schools, but by media and society. So like 30 years ago, women were mostly portrayed as the damsel in distress, and now women are Ghostbusters, assassins, then there's Beyonce. But I think that there's some fundamental differences between men and women. Women make people using their bodies. And the most impressive thing I can do with my body is pee standing up. Now they have she-wees. Another difference is women go to the toilet together, often in groups. And the only logical explanation for that is women are always carrying around cocaine. Like, I used to think that women used to go to the toilet together to talk and support each other through difficult poos. But then I realized that if I went to the toilet with a group of guy friends and they didn't have cocaine, it's because I have the cocaine. Or it's a sex thing. I don't know. I wish that more people identified as feminists. These jokes would be landing a lot better. And to help create a fairer, more balanced society where we focus on our similarities instead of our differences. Because men and women will always have far more in common than we have differences. We all do difficult poos. Am I right, sister? Yeah! The term toxic masculinity has been mentioned a lot over the past few years. The idea that men can't express feelings or vulnerability without alcohol. And like, sometimes it gets really bad. Like sometimes I'll just try and hug a guy and he'll be like, no homo. And then I have to be like, dude, that erection had nothing to do with you. Just happens sometimes. But there's nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with the way people are naturally wired. Like, I used to have a joke in my set about enjoying a finger in the bum, because I'm a classy comedian. And one show, this guy came up to me afterwards and he asked me if I was worried a finger in the butt would make me gay. No. That's not how sexuality works. I mean, like, if you're wanting to have sex with guys after you've had a finger in the butt, you clearly want to have sex with guys before that. Nobody is a finger in the butt away from being gay. It's not that good. I just want to say that I don't think that masculinity is toxic. I think it's down to the person and the environment. So like some guys want to be strong and powerful so they can have power over others and dominate them. Some guys want to be powerful and strong so they can protect people, like firefighters. And some guys pay women in leather to call them worthless and burn their penises with lit cigarettes. Everybody's different. But I think it's just acknowledging that people aren't their mistakes. People make mistakes and you can change, you can learn from them. A few years ago, me and a group of guy friends used to stand outside of pubs and shout things at women as they walk past. We used to shout, 10 comedians, free comedy show. If you don't laugh, you get your money back. Basically, people can change, people aren't their mistakes. Toxic masculinity is a very narrow view of what a man is supposed to be. Someone who's tough, doesn't cry, and destroys pussy. And I think that thank you. The whole concept of boys will be boys is wrong, because boys won't be boys. Boys will be whatever you teach them to be. And if we teach boys that showing emotional vulnerability isn't a bad thing, and that they don't need to destroy pussy, they should respect it. till they're asked to destroy it. I don't know, I grew up hearing things like man up, boys don't cry, it's just a cartoon, Mufasa wasn't really alive in the first place. But I'm not a man's man, like I ask for directions, I'm comfortable to cry in secret. But seriously, like showing emotional vulnerability isn't a bad thing, and it's not a weakness. I personally think it takes a lot of strength and MDMA. Now, I'm not saying that MDMA is the cure for toxic masculinity. I am saying that so far it's the best strategy that we have. So I want to open this up to you guys. So will you, everyone here, put your hands up if you wish you had more friends that were different to you in some way, whether that's race, background, age, culture. Okay, the majority of people. You guys are pretty content in your friend group, that's fair. I've got enough friends, this life thing, I'm just done. Okay, now put your hands up if you wish you had more friends with people that had different beliefs than you, whether it's religious, political, or worst of all, Scientology. Okay, so there's a lot less hands there. I just want to say that everyone's going to have different beliefs than you. People can change those beliefs, but either way, you shouldn't dismiss people. So 2 years ago, I lived in Australia, and I lived there during the gay marriage vote. And I actually met someone who voted no on gay marriage. It wasn't a gay guy terrified of commitment. It was a guy with some very old-fashioned and homophobic beliefs. His main belief was that if they allowed gay people to get married, then people will start marrying animals. And I think that's the best thing that can happen. Hear me out. So I think people should marry animals because it's the best and easiest way to catch the people having sex with animals. I'm just saying, if you're willing to marry an animal, you've clearly been having sex with it for a long time without being caught. I mean, marriage has always caused people to have less sex. Basically, the main reason that I'm here is to pass around my pro-animal marriage petition. It's completely anonymous for obvious reasons. Pass it around the room. I don't know, on a serious note, like if you're having sex with an animal and you're in a relationship, it's not looking for commitment, it's looking for freedom. It's just that I just don't understand homophobia. Like, I love gay guys. They're the main people who compliment me. I live in London now. I live in North London, a place called Finsbury Park. You guys heard of it? One person who came with me from Finsbury Park. For the rest of you guys, basically the best way I can describe Finsbury Park is 2 weeks ago I saw a pigeon with a joint in its mouth. You're still laughing, I don't want to interrupt you guys. And now that pigeon is my weed dealer. He does deliveries. I saw on the news a few months ago that there's hundreds of landlords all across London offering sex and sexual services instead of rent. Hundreds. You've seen that? Yeah, it's really humiliating. Because I've contacted thousands of landlords. No response. I understand, it's a little bit of a sensitive issue. I just want to say that if anyone here knows anyone that has a nice house in central London, please come and speak to me after the show. I don't know, London rent is expensive, but generally it's great. Generally it's great to be here in Monopoly Town. I like Monopoly. Like it's the only way that I can buy a house in central London without having sex with someone. But and I wish they made Monopoly more of an honest representation of London. By just throwing a lot of pret-a-manger's on the board, taking away the free parking. I don't know, like when I first came to London, for the first 3 months, I lived in a hostel in North London because my life's amazing. Yeah, if you guys have never lived in a hostel before, it's a very weird concept. Basically, you sleep in a room with a bunch of strangers, a lot of which who are leaving the country the next day. With your iPad. Long story short, I'm selling iPads. Anyone's interested, good price. But the hostel had like the main rule of the hostel is that you can't bring people outside of the hostel inside, which means I couldn't take girls back for sex. Mainly because of my personality. I didn't even know they had that rule till after I left the hostel. But the hostel was made of people living from all different countries, all different cultures, living together in harmony. But the majority of people seem to spend the majority of their time with people who look like them, think like them, or from the same place they're from, because they think it's easier to connect. Which it is, like a lot of people couldn't understand my accent. But we learn the most from people who are the most different from us, from a different background or life experience. One of my friends is a dominatrix. I can give you another. Another friend I have is serving in the military. My best friend is Jesus. He's an Australian guy that I met at the hostel, and he's a fun Jesus. He has long hair, a beard, and brown skin, so he looks like what Jesus would actually look like, coming from the Middle East. Plus, he gives poignant speeches and has 12 people that follow him around. Just one person. But no, yeah, he's when I told my parents that I found Jesus in the hostel, they were so proud. Oh my God. A positive influence, and he is a positive influence, to do more LSD. But he's easily the greatest teacher I've ever had about people. So he taught me that pretty much everyone regularly struggles with insecurities. And no matter how you go through life or how you change, you're always going to have things about yourself and your life that you don't like. You can't ever get rid of that, but it's a choice to focus on it. If you focus on the things you don't like about yourself and your life, you feel insecure. If you focus on the things you do like about yourself and your life, you feel pride and happiness. Now this concept applies to most things. If you focus on the things that you don't like about someone or a particular group of people, then you react negatively. If you focus on things you do like about someone or a particular group, you react positively. Where focus goes, energy flows. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think the world would be a much better place if more people did acid with Jesus. I just want to say that I did acid before 1960 when it was legal. And it was blessed by Jesus. Another good thing about the hostel is you don't need porn to see two strangers having sex. On the second night at the hostel, there was a guy and girl having sex in the bunk bed across from me, and there was a guy in the room masturbating to it. I'm not proud of it. Just happened. So I'm a millennial. I'm not a typical millennial. I like gluten. I'm allergic to avocado. I think one of the most common stereotypes about millennials is that we're spoiled. And I think the main reason people think that is because we grew up with the internet. So we didn't have to bury our porn. Unless it's really bad. But I think the main thing my generation lacks, apart from houses, is direction. In regards of life, like Google Maps is amazing. I don't even know how to be lost anymore. but a lot of millennials are overqualified for their jobs, like going to university to become a barista. The only thing my university degree has given me is a cocaine addiction and a lot of debt. But no, I'm proud to be a millennial. We've been called the worst generation by people who forgot how bad Britain was. Like previous generations turned Australia into a prison and transported half of the slaves from Africa to America, and then forced the majority of the world to do the missionary position in case God was watching them. Because apparently anal makes God very angry, which is why I'm no longer religious. But another stereotype is that people say that my generation is obsessed with our phones, because phones are the best thing in life, apart from friends and family. Like, phones used to be terrible. Like, they used to be attached to the wall. You couldn't even watch YouTube on them. Like, they used to be terrible. Now phones have everything you need. A torch, a compass, mobile porn, all of the necessities. I mean, like, I can pay for things with my phone, I can check the weather report in any country. I have an app that tells me the perfect time to pee during a movie. It's called Run Pee. Changed my life. But yeah, generally it's a really great time to be alive at this point in history. Like a few hundred years ago, life expectancy was 35, and most people didn't even make it to adulthood, which is a lot worse than unpaid internships. I mean, life expectancy is doubled now to what it was a couple hundred years ago, which means waiting twice as long for a house. Probably the best thing about being a millennial is it's scientifically proven that the happiest times in life come from spending time with people that you're close to. And as a millennial, you end up spending quite a lot of time with people that you're close to, because you live with 7 roommates, as in you share a room with 7 people. A lot of millennials in here. It's a little bit heavy. That's fair enough. I just want to, apart from the front row, I just want to say that there's a lot of people here tonight. It's like the opposite of one of my birthdays. I don't know. I like getting older. Like, I hated being a kid. Because as a kid, everyone thinks you're really naive and lie to you constantly. Like, my parents used to lie to me all the time. They used to say things like, Santa Claus is real. We don't think you're gay. You're planned. And that's not actually true. I was planned to be a playmate for my brother. Okay, so I want to kind of open this up to the kind of audience. Does anyone here have an experience, personal experience with discrimination or prejudice that they'd be willing to share? You guys never even been ID'd before? Stavros, what's your experience?
So I was in Arizona, and since I was there and there was cacti and stuff, I thought I really want to ride a horse and be a cowboy. So yeah, exactly. I found this ranch that was really cheap, and I went to it. But when I came in, they had like Bible inscriptions everywhere, sort of like, "Be still and know that I am God." Luke 12:14. I was like, holy shit. And I was a bit apprehensive. People were a bit weird when I got there, but then this like lovely cowgirl Jenny took me around. We rode through the canyon. It was beautiful.
We do have a time limit.
I don't want to rush you. I've told this story before. So she says, where are you from? How come you got a British accent, but you look like you're from Saudi Arabia, Qatar? And I'm like, no, I'm Greek and I grew up in England. He's like, well, you better be careful here around in the States, because when my boss saw you coming, he's like, you see that Arab guy? Want me to send Jeff with you? You think you'll be safe?
Basically, it went badly when she found out you didn't have that Arab kind of Qatar money. That is fair enough. I'll be honest, as like a straight white middle class male, I don't really have that much experience with prejudice and discrimination. The closest thing that I can compare it to is not being liked from people from Sunderland. For those of you guys that don't know, so I come from Newcastle, and there's a city right beside mine called Sunderland, and there's a rivalry between the two places, mainly because of football. And basically, because I'm from Newcastle and I like football, I'm automatically meant to hate Sunderland, which is ridiculous. I mean, I don't like Sunderland, but that's because it's not a great place. I mean, like, the Northeast has over 70% unemployment, one of the highest in the country. London has so many jobs. Like, sometimes I just go on job interviews here for fun. Most times I go because I need a job. But I don't know, it's, I think the worst thing about being a comedian, apart from being broke, is people often come up to you after gigs and they say things like, "Hey man, great set. I have a joke for you. You can use it in your set." And it's usually pretty offensive, which fits perfectly in my set. But it feels like what they're saying is like, "Hey man, you know that thing that you do, that you work really hard on to be funny and original? I could do that. If I wanted to, like, I know comedy, and you should be more offensive." So, religion. I just want to start by saying that I support anyone's right to believe in anything, no matter how wrong it is. I was testing the religion material at a gig a few weeks ago, and a woman came up to me afterwards and she said that I shouldn't joke about religion. I should let people believe what they want to believe. It's not like religion has ever hurt anyone. Not true. The Aztecs used to behead people for their god, and the Christians literally invented the witch hunt. Like, Christianity is a very interesting religion. It's a religion where basically you're passing around the Toronto marriage petition. It's more of a prop, but if you want to sign it, fair enough. But yeah, Christianity is very interesting. So basically, you can do whatever you want, as long as you ask for forgiveness afterwards. And the church has a very well documented history of being able to forgive anything, apart from homosexuality. Okay, it's a little bit quiet. I just want to say that if there's any Christians in the room and you're offended by any of this material, I want to ask you to forgive me. It's what Jesus would do. Correct. But yeah, I went to a mosque. You never know what's going to get laughed at. I'm not Muslim. I went to a mosque to write a joke about going to a mosque. I'm too lazy to be Muslim. Like, they pray 5 times a day, every day, from about 6 a.m. Luckily, you can pray with your eyes closed, silently. But I don't know. I left Christianity because I couldn't manage to wake up early on Sundays anymore. And my parents were suspicious of the priest. That was the main reason. That was the main reason. It's all right. He's in a different church now. Guys, it's this is a comedy gig, not a church. You're not gonna go to hell for laughing. I'm the one going to hell. But not for this. I don't know, religion can be a good thing in people's lives. It can give them a sense of community and direction in regards of how to be a good person and lead a good life. Then there's Scientology, which is more of a business than a religion, but essentially religion can be a good thing for people, but there's people inside religions that want to try and take advantage of people and their faith for themselves. Remember, God doesn't need money or sex, and you can't trust religious people. I went so much better at the mosque. I'm agnostic, so I was born a Christian. I later became an atheist, and then I smoked weed with Jesus. Really changed my perspective. I don't know. I think people should do nice things for others, not because they want to get into heaven or like avoid being a rat in the next life, but because it feels good to post on social media. I don't know. I see religious people a lot like flat earthers. Science should have ended their belief a long time ago. Wow. And people are only ever going to change their minds if they're open to changing it. So whether people believe the earth is flat or that the universe was created in 6 days, people are always going to have different thoughts and opinions than you. And being right isn't more important than being able to have a dialogue and a connection with people that you disagree with. Some of these jokes are just going to be insightful. Other jokes, I'll be getting high with Jesus. Probably one of my favorite experiences with Jesus is we went to the Museum of Jesus in South Kensington because he's a narcissist. And so we smoked a joint outside, and we went in and we got stopped at random for a security check because he was pretty stoned. And so they patted him down. We made him stand like this. And they found a small bag of weed. Okay, it was quite a big bag. And they said, "What is this?" And he replied, "Blessed be are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy." Come on, guys. What would Jesus do? He's now banned from the museum. I don't know. Do you guys like impressions? Yeah. Do you guys like impressions? Yeah. Okay, here's my impression of a comedian doing political comedy in North Korea. Hey guys, you see, the funny thing about our supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, is that his name strikes fear in the balls of his enemies. Thank you. That joke's all about execution. I love that. I love that joke so much, I'm willing to get blinded. Speaking of dictators, white supremacy seems to be getting a lot more popular nowadays. And I did this joke at a gig a couple of days ago, and someone came up to me and said that there's nothing funny about white supremacy. I disagreed. I think the fact that the KKK is led by a wizard is kind of funny, but at the same point, I understand that it's weird me talking about how bad white supremacists are, looking like a Hitler Youth. And it's not my fault I look this way, it's my parents. They're Nazis. Wow, a lot of signatures, thank you. No one's ever signed this before. It's a very weird experience.
Just read out the names.
I should read out the names. So first there's Ronald McDonald, and then the rest are just kind of email addresses. You guys took it upon yourselves to do that, so the ingenuity is very good here. Miss Piggy is the third one, which then Queen, Adolf Hitler. You got Can't believe the Führers came to see me perform. That's amazing. But yeah, like I'm not trying to offend Nazis. Like Nazis.
Sounds good.
Like, Nazis nowadays are very different. They have 3D tattoos and Snapchat. But I just want to say that I fully understand what it's like if when you look at your group positively, it can lead to feelings of superiority. Like, I was in the chess club at school, and even though we won competitions, we never thought we were better than any of the other sports. But got a fellow chess player. But yeah, so we never got better than any of the sports. Essentially, if you, no matter who you feel like you're similar to or you're different from, you're always part of a much larger group, and it's only a mindset which tries to convince you otherwise. We need to encourage separatist groups to come together to have a conversation, because the best way to combat hate and intolerance is to show that we can always come together and connect with each other in a non-sexual way and in a sexual way.
Yes.
Make love, not war, unless that war is fought with genitals. And the first country to come loses. Just an idea. I first started doing sex. To the girls when I don't know. It was very similar to the first time I ever performed at a gig. Like, I was nervous. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I had to wait for the other guys there to finish. It was a gangbang. Yeah, I first started doing sex to the girls when I was 19. Like, it took me such a long time to get the money together. By the way, I just want to say, if anyone here wants to follow me after this gig, it's at Andrew Tubman 2 on Twitter, or you can just search Andrew Tubman on Tinder, Bumble, and AshleyMadison.com. Please swipe right. I just want to say to any of the ladies here that I'm not perfect. I listen too much. I spend way too much money on presents. I'm too fertile, and I'm too good at eating pussy. Like I just set up camp down there. Like, you know when a bear goes to hibernate? I just live in that cave. I bring snacks with me. I don't know, I don't get why people get so judgmental when it comes to sex. Like, wanting to have sex with various people and just being open sexually is completely natural. Like, we're one of the few species that has sex for pleasure, and one of the only species that has BDSM. And sex is meant to be enjoyed. Like, did you know that the clitoris is the only part of the human body specifically designed to give pleasure? It has no other function. So it's a good thing that it's easy to find. I like to think that I'm pretty sexually open-minded, but I've never sent a dick pic before. True story. However, I was naked on national television, so if anybody asks, I can send them a link to a high-definition dick video with amazing production value. I don't know, my ex-girlfriend really liked putting a finger in my butt. I was just like, my prostate is fine, get away from there. I don't care what Cosmo tells you. Which is what I would say if it wasn't amazing. Am I right, bro?
Yes,
Yeah. Which finger was it? We can talk after the show. We can talk after the show. That's fine.
Now I'm embarrassed. I'm going.
One finger in the butt too far. That's fair. So we constantly hear in the news about our differences, how different we are from each other. But let's just take a second to look at our similarities. Make some noise if you think you would struggle to go 3 months without your phone. If you've ever done a difficult poo. If you've masturbated. See, we're all the same. I don't know, we live in a very divided time right now. I don't want to stop you from laughing. We live in a very divided time right now, with things like Trump, Brexit, and the Daily Mail. There's a lot of people trying to get us to hate immigrants because apparently they're taking our jobs and bringing in drugs. Well, I hate jobs. Like, I think jobs are by far one of the worst things about leaving university. And I love drugs. Like, I think drugs are amazing. So if people are bringing drugs into the UK, I fully support that. Because I don't know how to make drugs. But it's crazy, like immigrants are just people born in a different part of the planet. Like, nobody chooses where they're born. Like, if I could choose where I was born, I would obviously be born in a manger in Bethlehem, surrounded by wise men, and despite living in a really hot country, still somehow have the complexion of an Eskimo. I'm just saying, if Jesus was white, his superpowers of walking on water and having blood made from wine is nothing compared to having skin which reflects sunlight. Apart from Michael Jackson, nobody chooses their skin color, their economic class, or where they're born. Like, everyone's lives is largely just a gamble. We're all just trying to do the best with what we have. I'll be honest, I don't fully understand white privilege, mainly because I'm white, but I Googled it. And I accept that I receive preferential treatment from the police. People rarely ask to touch my hair. And I'm never invited to the fun churches. But the main people who seem to be benefiting from privilege are the main people who always try and get the poor and disadvantaged to fight amongst ourselves so that we don't work together and create a society that's fairer and more balanced and works for the majority of people instead of just a very small amount. If you're not laughing, you're learning. As of 2017, over 20% of the UK lives in poverty. I come from a working class family, and I'm expected to believe that I have more in common with people who own several cars and houses just because we both use the highest factor sunscreen than I do with the black people on my street. I'm on that street because I don't see division. And I love black women. Massive chocoholic. Anyways, on a lighter topic, you know you know the good thing about climate change. It's the best legitimate excuse that I have not to have children. Like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. It's not that I don't want kids. It's just that I don't want them to grow up in like a Mad Max style dystopia where every day is like a hunt for food and resources. Actually, maybe we should have kids. So when we get too old and weak to go out and scavenge, we can send the kids. I think I do want kids. Thank you, climate change, for saving my relationship. But on a serious note, like, I don't know how I'd be able to look my children in the eye and tell them that the world ended because we couldn't admit the vegans were right. Greta Thunberg was just named Time Magazine's Person of the Year 2019. Greta is one of the main spokespeople for the climate change movement. She famously led a school strike, saying that she's not going back to school until world leaders take serious action on the climate crisis, because what's the point of going to school if there's no future? Or she was bullied. And she's just in far too deep now. I mean, it's like, come on, it's not like she needs school. She gave a TED talk at 15 and gave a speech at the EU and the UN. High school can be brutal. I was bullied in high school. Like, I wrote a Bible. I was a weird kid. Yeah, it was filled with loads of positive stories and messages. Like, I was really proud of it. I showed it to all my teachers. And that's when the teacher started bullying me. I went to a protest for climate change last year. I mean, against climate change. I'm not good at activism. When I was there, I was detained by police, and to avoid being arrested, I said that I was pro-extinction. I think the world should have ended back in 2012. But the main media coverage of Extinction Rebellion seems to mainly be based on what they do and what they look like, instead of looking at why members of the public are willing to get arrested and why trying to save the planet is now illegal. And the main thing that Extinction Rebellion seems to want, apart from Super Glue, is a citizens' assembly. So a group comprised of members of the public picked at random to decide on issues and legislation in regards to the climate crisis for the government to implement that. Because they don't trust our government to handle the biggest, most complex problem in the history of our species. Maybe if we had a government that didn't declare a climate emergency whilst expanding the UK's biggest airport, half of all of the carbon we've ever put into the atmosphere in the history of our species has been in the last 30 years. The science is telling us that if we don't make serious changes now, we're leading to social collapse, food shortages, and a temperature rise that I'm personally not prepared for. Burn extremely easily. But we, the people, should have a role in the decision-making process, because it's something which affects all of us. Joining or supporting Extinction Rebellion could be a way that you specifically could help. Climate change is a common struggle which affects everyone, and therefore it can unite everyone. We're social creatures. We're at our strongest and our happiest when we have a sense of community and something which connects all of us together. Like Tinder. Or a revolution. Maybe the next crowd. And we're at our strongest when we're united, and our weakest when we're divided. We don't need to be this divided anymore. We don't need to have a huge part of our identity based around which part of the world we are born in. The lines that separate different countries are all imagined. Woo! I know it sounds like I'm going to start singing John Lennon. Hopefully I'm not the only one. But we need to come together, because we don't need to compare or compete against each other, because life isn't a competition. It's a personal and separate experience for everyone. Plus, nobody wins. Everyone just dies. And most people don't even get the opportunity to exist. They're killed by masturbation. Or condoms. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yes.
Thank you. last thing. So as you guys can probably tell, I'm pretty woke. Like, not enough to stop eating meat or watch ethical porn. But I do think people care too much about being seen as intellectually or morally right than they do about other people. The best way for two opposing ideologies to come together and have a resolution is by both sides listening to each other with compassion, respect, and where the focus is to try and understand the other person and their perspective, rather than just trying to prove who's right. Like on Jerry Springer. We can choose to change the story we tell ourselves about who we are, who we're similar to, different from, how the world is, and how it can be. It's just a story. Because we can't change the world. We do it every day with the decisions and actions we take, and we choose not to take. Make the change you want to see in the world. Together we can change the world. Thank you.
Yes, we can.